Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Sri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology and will be taking the zoology section, that is animal science. My dear students, today we are going to start with a very important chapter for both boards and competitive point of view, that is human health and disease. This chapter will lead to fulfill the following objectives. You will learn about what is health. You will learn about what are the different diseases, classification of diseases, classification of pathogens, immune system, types of immune cells, different types of vaccines, methods and levels of prevention and treatment, and different diagnostic procedures. So these were some common list of contents which you will be meeting in this chapter, human health and disease. So my dear students, before going to this chapter, I would like to thank Sir Alexander Fleming, who was a Scottish biologist and a pharmacologist as well. He was known for his best discoveries, the discovery of enzyme lysozyme and the antibiotic substance benzyl penicillin, that is penicillin G. For the contribution to the world medicine by discovering penicillin G from a fungus Penicillium notatum, he shared the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine in 1945 with Howard Florey and Ernest Chain to Sir Alexander Fleming. Then I would like to thank Edward Jenner, who was an English physician and scientist who was the pioneer of smallpox vaccine, which was the world's first vaccine. He is often called father of immunology, and his work is said to have saved more than millions of lives in the work, in the historical importance of humanity and medicine. So now, my dear students, I would like to start human health and disease. Moving to our first slide. These are the different objectives that at the end of the chapter you will be able to learn about definition of health and disease, learn about the immune system and its working, how immune system works, and the disorders of immune system. You will also learn about the principles and facts for the vaccination and different types of diseases. You will also learn about the problem of addiction, alcohol abuse, and drug abuse. So these are the different objectives of this chapter. Moving further, that how can we define health? What is health? Previously, when for a very long time, it was a misconception between different researchers, the laymen, and biologists, researchers, scientists. They all believe that health is something which reflects a disease-free condition. But exactly speaking, health is not just a state of body and mind where there was a balance of certain humors. So, if you just pick up the books of early 17th to 16th centuries, you will see the definition of health written by different researchers, scientists of those times, that health is just a balance between mind and body. It was a Greek philosopher and a scientist too, Hippocrates, as well as the Indian Ayurveda system, who actually provokes the fire of finding out what exactly health is. So according to different scientists, the Indian Ayurveda system of medicine, it was thought that person with black bile belonged to hot personality and would have fevers. This idea was arrived by pure reflective thought that person who are having black bile, they will be of hot personality, means they have an emotion in which the body is inclined towards more anger. Okay, so we cannot just go through these definitions. So now I'm going to start with the definition which was proposed by WHO. Disease. That health is a complete state of health is a state of complete physical, social, psychological, and economical well-being. Understood? Health can be defined as a state of physical, social, psychological, economical well-being. Okay, this was the definition given by WHO. Now, what is disease? Disease simply means what? Dis plus ease. Ease means comfort. So it is loss of comfort. It is a structural or functional abnormality. Either it is structural or either it is functional or both in an organism which impairs the normal functioning of its mind or body. So due to any reason, if a person, healthy person, he or she is not able to perform the daily task, the normal functioning of either brain or body, physically, psychologically, economically, or socially, it means they are diseased. Okay. Disease can be used to introduce various factors like infection by harmful microorganisms, means pathogens. It can relate to trauma or injury. It can relate to drug abuse, means dependence, or genetic abnormalities. So disease can be caused. Now, the cause of disease is known as what? Etiology. The cause of disease is known as what? Etiology. So disease can be caused due to various factors like infection by harmful microorganisms, which are known as pathogens, a trauma or injury, drug abuse, which is drug dependence, or genetic effects. Disease may be communicable when they can spread by contact or by any means of, direct or indirect transmission, or non-communicable when they cannot transfer from one person to the other person. So disease can be communicable as well as non-communicable. Communicable diseases which can be transferred from one person to the other person. Non-communicable disease which cannot be transferred from one person to the other person. Then very importantly, lifestyle disorders. Nowadays, we are running with these lifestyle disorders. We are actually in every family, one or two, person, they are suffering from these lifestyle disorders, which are basically because of adopting unhealthy lifestyle. Okay, it includes diabetes mellitus, it includes hypertension. So they all are lifestyle disorders. Study of disease is called epidemiology. Epidemics. So word is epidemiology. So epidemiology is the study of disease. Now coming to next slide. Pathogens. What are pathogens? Pathogens are disease causing organisms. Pathogens are disease causing organisms. Understood? Example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis related to TB, tuberculosis, which causes TB. So these infection causing agents, they are known as what? Pathogens. So pathogens, they are related to infectious diseases. Their ability to cause disease. Power of any pathogen to cause infection and the extent of infection is known as what? Pathogenicity. Pathogenicity. Okay. Extent of infection. Or we can say the range of effect of pathogen. Now coming to next, virulence. Virulence is the degree of pathogenicity of an organism. If a particular pathogen like bacteria is causing, suppose, any X disease or any Y disease, so the degree of pathogenicity means the amount, or we can say the frequency, the effect, the adverse effect or the side effect of that pathogen to cause a particular disease is measured in terms of virulence. That bacteria is virulent, that bacteria is weak. It means that bacteria can cause a deadly infection. Okay, so virulence is the degree of pathogenicity, and pathogenicity is basically the ability to cause disease. Okay, if any pathogen is having that ability to cause disease is known as what? Pathogenicity. And how much that pathogen is able to cause a disease, okay, means the degree, the amount, the range of pathogenicity is what? The virulence. Understood? Parasite. Parasite is an organism that lives in, or an organism, not lives, it is live. Okay, so parasite is an organism that live in, or an organism means there are two types: exoparasite and endoparasite. Okay, these parasites, they live in the host body and they derive nutrition at the expense of the host. So parasitism is a type of interaction between members of two species in which one species is harmed and the other one is profited, plus minus. One which is benefited is positive and one which is harmed is negative. So examples: ectoparasites, example leech. Okay, endoparasites, the infections of roundworm like tinea, teniasis, then amoebic dysentery. Okay, then we can say the infection of fascicola hepatica, means the fascicoliasis. Okay, so there are many diseases which are caused by the endoparasites as well as the exoparasites. like Plasmodium. It is a protozoan which lives inside the female Anopheles mosquito, which causes malaria. So it is also a type of endoparasite. Okay. Infection is the invasion. Infection is the invasion of an organism by the pathogen. Okay. When any organism or a foreign body or a pathogen enters inside a host, so it causes infection. The infection is basically the invasion of an organism by the pathogen. The multiplication of the pathogen in the organism and the resultant reactions of the organism and the different cells. So infection is the invasion of an organism by the pathogen. The multiplication of the pathogen, the infection includes what? First, the entry, second, the multiplication, and third, the resultant reactions, means the pathogenicity. Okay? Reactions of the organism cells and the infection causing agent. Now coming to next, spatial points. What are the spatial points? A physical or a psychological trait exhibited by an organism which can indicate the presence of a disease is called symptom. Very important. What is symptom? So suppose you are a doctor, Dr. Prasad, and I am a patient. I am a patient. Okay? Bola. So I, Bola, I am a patient. You, Dr. Prasad, doctor. I'll go to the doctor and I'll tell that what I feel. So all the proceedings, all the sentences, all the conversation which is done between a doctor and a patient, it is having two components. One, the component or the part of the component which is forwarded, given, okay, by or pursued by patient, their symptoms. Then what exactly? Sir, doctor, I am feeling cough, cold, feverish, lethargic. I am feeling like that I'm not able to sleep properly, insomnia. So basically all these are symptoms. And when doctor asks some activities for doing, that okay, tell me, throw out your tongue so that I can look for the cyanosis, mean the level of oxygen. I can look for glossitis, means the inflammation of the tongue in the gastritis. Okay. So there are many things, especially the two components. Symptoms are one which are basically pursued by the patient, which are told by the patient, and signs. Signs are after hearing the symptoms, doctor asks you to take out your tongue, okay, roll up your eyes, okay, roll down your eyes, take a deep breath, then exhale, take a deep breath, then exhale. So all these are signs. Do you understood what are signs and what are symptoms? The symptoms is a physical or a psychological trait, whatever you feel, exhibited by an organism which can indicate the presence of the disease. Okay, which can be a marker of a disease. It's called symptom. Incubation period is the time interval between the entry of pathogen and the appearance of first clinical symptom. First clinical symptom. Ladies and gentlemen, please be very cautious. It is not the appearance of symptoms only. It is the appearance of first clinical symptom. The incubation period is the time interval between the entry of the pathogen. That pathogen is present inside the organism, but the organism is not showing any symptom. Okay, because maybe of two reasons. Either the pathogen is not activated. Secondly, the immune response of body is fighting against the pathogen. Okay, so it is just diminishing or minimizing the effects of pathogen. So this is what incubation period. The incubation period is the time interval between the entry of the pathogen and appearance of the first clinical symptom. Window period. Window period is the time between the infection to the point of time when it can be detected. Very important. Window period is the time between infection when it is confirmed that the pathogen is present inside the body, but but the pathogen or the symptoms associated with that pathogen, they cannot be detected. Okay, physically or clinically. The window period is the time between the infection to the point of time with or when it can be detected. That part is known as what? Window period. Chemotherapy. It is a treatment with chemicals. Chemicals means chemical agents like drugs and other substances. Like for example, in case of HIV positive, means the virus is inside the blood, but the symptoms, the infection, the growth rate of the infection, the multiplication rate of the infection, it cannot be detected because the virus is in a latent phase. Okay, the virus is in a latent phase. Means it is hidden, छुपा हुआ है. So first is incubation period, then the window period, then chemotherapy. Okay. Antibiotics are the substances which are produced by organisms, been produced by one organism to kill or to retard the growth of other organisms. Example, penicillin. That is why antibiotics are further divided into bacteriostatic and bactericidal. Bacteriostatic means which will limit the growth of bacteria. Okay. And bactericidal means which will kill the bacteria. Okay. The antibiotics, anti means against, biotics means living organism. A substance which is produced by one of the living organism to retard or to destroy the other organism. Example, penicillin. Now coming to next, so symptoms, window period, incubation period, antibiotics, everything is clear. Analgesics, they are the painkillers. Analgesic is a substance that relieves pain. Okay. Example, morphine. The word basically comes from analgesia. Analgesia means loss of sensation for pain. Okay. Example, morphine. So analgesics, there are two types, non-steroidal and steroidal. Non-steroidal, it includes all the drugs like paracetamol, diclofenac, they are non-steroidal. And steroidal includes morphine, amphetamine, etc. So the steroidal painkillers, they relieve the pain, but when they are constantly used, they become the part of the body, in habit. they causes habit. Okay. Antipyretics, they relieve or they calm down the body temperature, are the substances that help to reduce the body temperature. Or fever. Example, aspirin, acetyl salicylic acid. Aspirin. So it is an antibiotic. Fever is not a disease. Pain is not a disease. Pain, fever, they are. Pain and fever. They are symptoms which helps in the diagnosis of disease. Which helps in the diagnosis of disease. So if pain and fever they are relieved, okay, then it doesn't mean that the person, he or she, is cured. Pain and fever, they are the symptoms to get you in a state that okay, something is going wrong, and that is why these symptoms are very necessary, because they maintain the exact level of consciousness in our body. So pain, fever, they should be there. They are the symptoms, okay, which helps in the diagnosis of disease. Disinfectants against infection causing agents, the agents which inhibits or kills the microbes on contact. So these are disinfectants. And they are not for topical use, not for topical use. Disinfectants. They cannot be provided on living skin. Agents used on the living surfaces, they are known as what? Antiseptics, like Dettol. So disinfectant example, Lysol or phenyl. And antiseptics example, Dettol, Savlon, they all are antiseptics. Okay, so this is the difference between disinfectant and antiseptics. Now coming to next, important persons. Father of medicine, Hippocrates. That is why Hippocratic oath is taken by the newly admitted freshers, okay, or the doctors, to make sure that they will live for society, they will serve for society, and they will die for society. So Hippocratic oath. Father of medicine, Hippocrates. Father of surgery, Sushastra. Father of surgery, Sushastra. Father of Ayurveda, Chakra. Okay. Father of modern pathology, Rudolf Virchow. Father of immunity, Edward Jenner. Father of blood group, C. Landsteiner. Father of modern bacteriology, Robert Koch. Proposed Koch postulates. And discovery or the inventor or the pathfinder for infection of tuberculosis, that it is caused by a bacteria, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then blood circulation. Who proposed the circulation? Blood circulation. Blood circulation was given by William Harvey. Understood? Now coming to next, important dates. 30th January, leprosy day. Leprosy is caused by Mycobacterium leprae. March 24th, Tuberculosis Day. 7th April, World Health Day. 26th June, International Day Against Drug Abuse and Liquor Trafficking. 1st July, Doctor's Day. 11th July, World Population Day. 1 December, AIDS Day. So these are some important dates. Okay. Now we are going to start with the immune system, which is the very first topic. Okay. So, what exactly immunity is? Immunity. Humans are constantly exposed to disease causing agents, that's right. Yet the occurrence of disease is relatively very low. We basically are surrounded by so many pathogens, but we don't encounter these opportunistic infections in a normal state because our body is quite very powerful to resist these, opportunistic infection causing agents. The occurrence of disease is relatively very slow. This is because we possess a very complex and evolved immune system. Immunity is the ability of an organism to fight against certain causing agents. Immunity is the ability of an organism to fight disease causing agents, pathogens. Immunology, study of immune system. The immune system involves tissues like that of bone marrow, thymus, for the production of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, proteins like immunoglobulins, and also many other compounds. So basically, immune system, it includes the immune cells like T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, and various others, and proteins like immunoglobulins like IgA, IgM, IgE, and many other compounds. Vaccination is a method that harnesses the immune system in a specific manner to protect an organism from the disease. Vaccination is a method in which immune system selects very specifically the infection causing agent, okay, and it will kill. Understood? The immune system. And what is immunity? Immunity can be defined as the disease resistance power of body. Okay. Immunity can be defined as the disease resistance power of body, and humans are constantly exposed to disease causing agents, yet the occurrence of disease is very low. Why? Because we have a very complex and evolved immune system. Immunity is the ability of an organism to fight against disease causing agents. Immunology is the study of immune system. The immune system involves tissues like bone marrow, thymus, cells like T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, proteins like immunoglobulins, and many other compounds. Vaccination is a method that harnesses the immune system in a specific manner to protect an organism from the disease. Understood? So now coming next, there are some terms related to immunity. First is antigen. Antigen is a foreign body, okay, which is not the part of the native system. So antigen, also known as agglutinogen, a substance which stimulates the production of antibodies. So antigen or agglutinogen is a substance which stimulates the production of antibody. So any substance which helps to trigger the production of antibody is a antigen or a agglutinogen. Antibody or agglutinin, it is a complex glycoprotein secreted by B lymphocytes in response to an antigen. So antigen, a substance which stimulates the production of antibodies. An antibody or agglutinin, it is basically a complex glycoprotein secreted by B lymphocytes in response to an antigen. Understood? Usually antigen they can be proteinaceous, they can be glycoproteinaceous, and same for antibody. Now, antiserum. Serum of any animal which contains the antibody for a specific antigen, like for example, post corona, which is the pandemic now. If the persons develop antibodies against this infection causing agent, that is, we can extract these antibodies, okay, or the part of the blood which is known as what? Serum. Agglutination, the reaction of antigen and the antibody. So agglutination is the reaction of antigen and the antibody, that is known as what? Agglutination. Toxoid. Toxoid is a chemical or a chemically modified toxin incapable of harming but capable of stimulating an immune response is a toxoid. Like for example, tetanus toxoid, which is given as a booster dose. So toxoid is a chemically modified toxin incapable of harming, okay, but capable of stimulating an immune response is a toxoid. Interleukins. They are the proteins-based signals that stimulate the growth and to activate certain WBCs. So interleukins, they are the protein-based signals which stimulate the growth of and activate certain white blood corpuscles. Toxoid is a chemically modified toxin which is incapable of harming, but it helps to stimulate the immune response. There are two types of immunity. First is the innate immunity or the non-specific immunity, which is a generalized immunity, or the congenital immunity, mean it is provided by birth. Inborn immunity. That's why it is congenital and non-specific. Now the second is acquired immunity, which is specific and which is adaptive immunity. So there are two types of immunity. One is the innate immunity, which is non-specific immunity or the congenital immunity, also known as inborn or birth immunity. And the next is acquired immunity or the specific immunity or the adaptive immunity. Okay. Now, innate immunity. It is present since birth. Okay. It is the first line of defense of body. So please remember this point. It is the first line of defense of body. It is present since birth. Its response is not specific to the pathogen. That is why it is non-specific. Okay. Sorry. Its response is not specific to the pathogen means it produces a generalized effect in innate immunity. It plays an important role in preventing the entry of pathogens. It is very important from the point of view of containing the infection till the adaptive immune system responds. So innate immunity basically initially it fights against the infection till the adaptive immune system it actually is getting ready to fight against the infection causing agent. Otherwise, the pathogen load in the body would be extremely high till an adaptive immune response occurs, and this may at times be fatal. And usually it is seen in case of corona affected patients. And if the innate immunity is not strong, so it will take a lot of time for the innate immunity to produce a response against the infection causing agent. Okay. But the fact is, as the innate immunity is not developed at a very gross level, the pathogen can easily overcome the innate system, and it will further invade the different mucosa layers of body and reach to the internal structures of the body. And that is why the pathogen load increases as they will multiply. So innate immunity, that is why it is known as first line of defense, because initially it prevents the pathogen to survive, to divide, to increase its number. And this is the most important cause of maximum casualties because of coronavirus. Because we haven't met such kind of infection previously. That is why our innate immunity actually doesn't know that what type of pathogen it is. And that is why our innate system, and especially in case of the older ones, the aged persons having the age of more than 60 years, they are actually, they are coming in between or in a pace of this infection because they are degraded immunity. They are degraded innate immunity. Understood? Now coming to next, what are the different anatomical or physical barriers? Okay, how these barriers actually prevent us from entering of different pathogens. So these anatomical or physical barriers are skin, which is the outermost layer. The outermost layer of the skin prevents the entry of organisms in the body. It is an anatomical or physical barrier. Sebum or sweat. The secretions of skin also have some antibacterial properties because of lysozyme, which is an antibacterial enzyme. Secretions of sebaceous glands create an acidic environment on the skin. The secretions of sebaceous gland basically create an acidic environment on the skin, which degrades or which basically interfere with the environment of infection causing agent, and it will kill it. The anatomical or physical barrier includes what? Skin, sebum and sweat, okay, and secretions of sebaceous gland which create an acidic environment on the skin. Mucosal surface. Food and air passages, they are lined by mucosa. Mucosa contains mucus secreting cells and cilia. Mucus entraps the microorganisms and the cilia sweep the trapped organisms out. So basically the mucus, it entraps the microorganism. It will basically, for example, this is the bacteria. So the mucus or mucosa, it will secrete more and more amount of mucus over here. And because of secretion of large amount of mucus, this part becomes basically, or it will be expelled out in the form of cough, or also known as expectorant. Understood? The mucosal surface means these cilia, they helps to entrap the microorganisms, and they secrete more and more amount of mucus. Now this mucus will create an irritation in our pharynx or larynx, and it will be ejected out with a high pressure. So that is the mucosal surface. Physiological barriers. Many physiological aspects of the body make the environment unfavorable. For the growth of microbes. So there are many physiological aspects of the body in which the environment becomes unfavorable for the growth of microbes. Fever, high temperature inhibits or slow down the growth of microbes. And fever also tells us that okay, something is going wrong inside our body, and something is present which is not the part of our system. pH, acidic pH of the stomach, it is antibacterial. Vagina as well, antibacterial. Inhibits the growth of microbes. Secretions of body like tears, saliva, sebum contain lysozyme. It is an enzyme that destroys the cell wall of the microbes. Its target is peptidoglycan. So secretion of Body fluids like tears, saliva, sebum, they contain lysozyme. And lysozyme basically destroys the cell wall of microbes because its target is peptidoglycan. Interferons. Interferons are the proteins secreted by virus infected cells which stimulate the neighboring cells, increasing the antiviral defenses. So interferons means the one which are going to interfere. So these interferons are secreted by a virus infected cells, which can be bacteria, which can be a normal eukaryotic cell. These interferons basically degrade the viral genome. It will cut or it will destroy the viral genome, so that viral genome cannot be the part of the normal eukaryotic DNA or the genetic material. So that is why these are known as what? Interferons. Means these agents will interfere with the replication of viral genome with the host. Okay. Types of interferons are INF alpha, INF beta, and INFJ. Okay. So these are different types of interferons. Now coming to next, all these are physiological barriers. Previously we have studied the anatomical and physical barriers. Phagocytosis. Phagocytosis, it is a response developed by the WBCs, the white blood cells. The total count of the WBCs in the blood increases during infection. Some of them are phagocytic. Most important phagocytes are macrophages and neutrophils. Okay. So macrophages and neutrophils. Macrophages, they basically work with, the monocytes. Okay. So macrophages, they are the giant cells, and neutrophils, they mainly work as phagocytic cells. Monocytes, they are liberated at the site of infection. They are later converted into macrophages. So monocyte macrophage system. Macrophages, they are large irregular shaped cells that engulf microbes, virus, or cellular debris. There are 5 stages of extravasation, means coming out of blood vessels, coming out of WBCs from blood vessels, or leukocytes from blood vessels, and subsequent phagocytosis. The very first thing is the site where phagocytosis is to be done, or the site where body recognize the presence of that pathogen, or the site of the entry of the pathogen. First of all, vasodilation occurs. Increased diameter of blood vessels at the affected site, which decreases the blood supply. Or the blood pressure. Adhesion. The leukocytes localized at the site of infection. Now, the leukocytes, they get localized at the site of infection. Migration, diapedesis. The leukocytes then migrate out of the blood vessels to reach to the site of infection. Chemotaxis. The leukocytes move towards the pathogens from following chemical signals. Okay. Phagocytosis is the last phase. The pathogen is ingested by the phagocytic cell. So first is vasodilation. Body will prevent the flow of blood at that place. Then adhesion means the leukocytes, they will localize, they will try to adhere, attach to the site of infection. Then they will migrate, they will cross the membrane of blood vessels, and then the movement towards the pathogenic site through the chemical secretions, and then phagocytosis means the pathogen is ingested by the phagocytic cell. This is the diagram. You can see first process is margination. Margination means what? See, WBCs, they always travel in the middle, in the streamline. But you can see the WBCs, they are in the margins. Okay. So margins means you can see that there is a main road, and you can see for street walkers the pavements or the footpath is there, right? So this process is also known as pavementing. Pavementing or margination. Okay, margination or pavementing. When WBCs, they will basically try to adhere. Okay, so the very first process is margination, then rolling, then adhesion, and then transmigration. Okay, so you can see that first point, endothelial activation, the membrane of the or the lining of the blood vessel, the inner lining of the blood vessel, it is basically provided a stimuli, okay, and because of this stimuli, what will happen? The leukocyte will get activated. These leukocytes, they will adhere on the membrane or they adhere on the wall. Okay, so the very first process is the moment they get stimuli, they get attached to the wall of blood vessels, and this movement, you can see the WBCs, they are showing the amoeboidal movement and they are squeezing out from the blood vessels. This is known as what? Diapedesis. Diapedesis. Okay, so after getting diapedesed, mean coming out, they further move through the chemical stimuli which is provided by the bacteria and goes to the site of infection. So this is the extravasation of WBC. In this way, the WBC or the white blood corpuscles, they come out. Okay, and all these stimuli, they are basically provided the movement, injury, or any kind of protein or a toxin secreted by the pathogen. Understood? So the very first process is what? Margination or pavementing. The WBCs, they will arrange on the pavement or the margins. Second, rolling. They will try to roll. Okay, you can see they will try. They are rolling. The moment they are rolling, they produce pseudopodia and they will adhere. When they will adhere, they will undergo deep diapedesis or the migration, and then they will reach to the site of infection. Understood? This is extravasation of WBC. Now coming to next, inflammation. Inflammation is basically, it is a defense mechanism in the body. But before going to inflammation, I just mentioned the steps in phagocytosis. Attachment of the target to the phagocyte, ingestion by engulfment and formation of a vacuole called phagosome or phagolysosome. Okay, the first is the target will attach to the phagocyte, means the bacteria will attach to the WBC. Phagocyte is WBC and bacteria is the target. Ingestion by engulfment and formation of a vacuole, the WBC will digest the bacteria inside a vacuole, which is known as what? Phagosome. Lysis by merging of the phagosome with the lysosome. Now, this phagosome, it gets merged with the lysosome to form phagolysosome. Phagolysosome. The lytic enzymes like acid phosphatases and alkaline phosphatases are responsible for the destruction of the microbe. The residual body is formed and later is disposed of as the waste by the cell. So these are some common steps in phagocytosis. First, the target will attach to the phagocyte because of chemotaxis. Okay, then it will undergo the process of formation of vacuole in which the target is to be dissolved, phagosome. The final dissolution takes place when this phagosome, it merges or it fuses with the lysosome because of the presence of enzymes like acid phosphatases and alkaline phosphatases. It forms a digestive bed for the target, and the part which is remaining, it thrown out. Now, inflammation. Inflammation is a defense mechanism in the body that helps to reduce the spread or multiplication of the infectious agent. So inflammation is a local tissue response generally. Generally, it is a local tissue response which is developed to arrest so that the spread or the multiplication of the pathogen could not happen. So inflammation peculiarly it basically includes 5 signs: pain, swelling, redness, increase in temperature of local area, and loss of function. Okay, and loss of function. The redness and increase in temperature is due to increased metabolic processes, okay, to resist the effect of pathogen, and vasodilation in the affected area. Because of vasodilation, the blood pressure will decrease, the blood will pool out, when the blood will remain there, and because of this, breakdown of carbohydrates or the metabolic pathway will, the rate of the metabolism increases. Histamine and prostaglandins, these are tissue response generators. The histamine, prostaglandins, they are secreted, they are tissue response generators from mast cells, is chiefly responsible for the pain. Okay. So histamine and prostaglandins, which are tissue response generators, which basically is secreted from mast cells, and they are responsible for pain, when they are pain mediators. That is why to reduce pain, antihistaminics are taken, okay, which are chiefly responsible for the pain or inflammation. Understood? So this is inflammation which is different from infection. Inflammation is different from infection. Inflammation is the response developed by host organism. Okay, tissue response developed by host organism. Okay, and infection, it is the interaction between the healthy person to a disease causing agent. Now we are going to discuss different types of cells which are responsible for promoting or producing the immune responses. First is the natural killer cell, NK cells. These are large number of cells which are very large in size, big in size. They are large granular lymphocytes. It should be noted that they are different from the killer T cells. They are different from the killer T cells. Okay. So T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, and natural killer cells, they are the 3 categories of cells which are produced by the lymphoid stem cells. Right? I'll explain further in detail. So these natural killer cells, they are large granular lymphocytes, very important. Granular lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are generally agranular. But natural killer cells, the lymphocytes are granular. Okay? And that is why they are different from killer T cells. They kill virus infected cells, okay, and tumor cells of the body. So they are mainly acting against the viral infected cells and tumor cells of the body. They use a protein called perforin which creates pores in the plasma membrane of their target cells, and because of this, the target cell will acquire, or it will gain, or it will absorb more amount of water so that it will burst, okay, or it will release all the amount of water outside and it will die. Okay, so these natural killer cells, they basically use a protein called perforin which create pores in the plasma membrane of their target cells. Understood? Excess water enters through these pores causing swelling and busting of the target cells. So these are natural killer cells which are different from killer T cells. You can see cytokines are the cell mediators. Cell mediators, they basically activate the natural killer cells. Natural killer cells will activate it, and the activated natural killer cell release more and more amount of cytokines, and they will further activate, the acquired immune response. Okay, we'll discuss in the coming classes. Then the activated natural killer cell, it basically attaches with the infected cell releasing granzyme B and perforins. Mean granzyme B and perforins will create the pores, okay, and the cell will die. Apoptosis is the natural or the programmed cell death. And necrosis is means tissue degradation. Or cellular degradation. Okay, when cell, it basically internally, from internal side, it starts to decay, degrade, because of the breakdown of the microtubules, different types of proteins. So that is necrosis. Okay, in layman terminology, it is just like spoilage or sadna, and apoptosis is the programmed cell death. So these are the responses of natural killer cells, my dear students. So my dear students, I will be dealing with more topics in the coming lecture. We have just started the chapter. Okay, I just given you the introduction part, the innate immune system, and now we will come or discuss about the adaptive immune system. Till then, bye bye. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Stay at home.